The training yard was brutal at dawn. Frost covered the obstacle course. The air was cold enough to burn lungs. 60 soldiers stood in formation, breath visible in the pale light, waiting for the cadre to begin the selection process that would break most of them before noon. Second Lieutenant Maya Chen stood in the back row. 5'4", 128 pounds. She looked like she'd wandered into the wrong place, like someone had made a mistake putting her here. The men around her thought the same thing. She could see it in their sidelong glances, the smirks they tried to hide. Off to the side, a group of 9 soldiers stood in a loose circle, all male, all experienced, all convinced they were about to witness the fastest washout in selection history. $20 says she quits before lunch, one of them said. Sergeant Marcus Webb, built like a tank, 6 years in the infantry. That's generous, another replied. Staff Sergeant Kyle Morrison, Ranger qualified. 3 deployments. I give her until the first obstacle run. Soon as she realizes what this actually is, she's gone. I'll take that bet, said Corporal Danny Foster. But I say she doesn't even make it through the briefing. She'll hear what we're doing and self-eliminate before we even start. The others nodded, pulled out cash. The bet was on. 9 soldiers, 9 predictions, all of them certain that the small woman in the back row would be gone before the day ended. What they didn't know was that Maya had already been through worse, that she'd earned her place here through performance that put her in the top 3% of her officer class. That she'd volunteered for this selection, knowing exactly what it entailed. That she'd spent 6 months preparing specifically for this moment. But she didn't tell them any of that. Just stood quietly in formation, waiting for it to begin. The cadre appeared. 3 instructors, all special forces, all with the look of men who'd forgotten what sympathy meant. The lead instructor was Master Sergeant Davis. He'd run this selection for 8 years, had seen hundreds of soldiers try, watched most of them fail. Welcome to Special Operations Selection, Davis said. His voice carried across the yard without him having to shout. Most of you will not be here tomorrow. That's not a threat. That's a statistical fact. This selection has a 78% attrition rate. By the end of today, more than half of you will have quit. He paused. Let that sink in. We don't care about your prior experience. We don't care about your rank. We don't care if you're Ranger qualified or airborne or combat tested. None of that matters here. The only thing that matters is whether you can push through pain, exhaustion, and self-doubt to complete the mission. Everything else is irrelevant. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button right now and stay with this story all the way to the end. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story reaches. Davis's eyes scanned the formation, stopped on Maya, held there for a second. She saw the question in his expression, the same question everyone had. What is she doing here? But he said nothing, just continued the briefing. You have 60 seconds to decide if you want to continue. If you want to quit now, fall out to the left. No shame, no judgment. Just walk away. No one moved. Good. Then let's begin. The first evolution was a 12-mile ruck march. Full combat load, 60 pounds minimum. The route wound through hills, across streams, over terrain designed to break ankles and spirits. The pace was brutal, faster than a normal march, slower than a run. The worst pace possible for sustained effort. Maya settled into the rhythm, ignored the weight on her back, focused on breathing, on foot placement, on the soldier in front of her. She'd trained for this, 6 months of increasing her ruck weight every week, building endurance, building mental toughness. By mile 3, soldiers were falling out, sitting by the side of the trail, done, their legs cramped, their backs screaming, their will broken. By mile 6, 20 soldiers had quit. Maya was still moving. Her shoulders ached. Her hips were bruised from the ruck's weight. Her feet were developing blisters that would burst before the march ended. But she kept moving. Behind her, she heard voices. The 9 who'd bet against her. "She's still here," Morrison said. He sounded surprised. "Won't last," Webb replied. "Wait until the obstacle course. That'll finish her." They crossed the finish line at the 2-hour mark. 40 soldiers remained. 20 had quit during the march. Maya dropped her ruck with the others. Her legs were shaking. She drank water, ate an energy bar, prepared for whatever came next. The obstacle course was worse than the march. Walls to climb, ropes to traverse, a mud pit to crawl through under barbed wire. Everything designed to test strength, endurance, and mental fortitude. Davis stood at the starting line. "You have 45 minutes to complete the course. Anyone who doesn't finish in time is done. Begin." Maya started moving. The first obstacle was a 10-foot wall. No rope, no ladder. Just wood and willpower. She hit it at speed. Jumped, grabbed the top. Her arm screamed as she pulled herself up. Over, dropped on the other side. Next was the rope traverse. 50 feet across a mud pit, hand over hand. No feet allowed. Her grip strength was her weakness. She knew it, had trained it. But training and reality were different things. She grabbed the rope, started moving. Her hands burned, her forearms cramped. Halfway across, she thought about letting go, about dropping into the mud and being done. It would be easy. It would end the pain. But then she'd hear them. The 9 who'd bet against her. Who were probably watching. Probably laughing. Probably counting down the seconds until she quit. She kept moving. Reached the end. Dropped. Her hands were raw. Bleeding in places. She wrapped them quickly and moved to the next obstacle. The crawl was brutal. 100 meters under barbed wire. Through mud that smelled like rotting vegetation and diesel fuel. She went flat. Pulled herself forward with her elbows. The wire caught her uniform. Tore fabric, scraped skin. She kept crawling. Soldiers were quitting all around her, standing up, walking off the course, covered in mud and shame and relief that it was over. Maya kept crawling. Reached the end, stood up, looked like a creature from a swamp, moved to the next obstacle. By the time she finished the course, 32 minutes had elapsed. 13 minutes under the time limit. 28 soldiers remained. 12 more had quit during the obstacles. Maya stood at the finish line, gasping, covered in mud and blood from a dozen small cuts. Davis walked past her, stopped, looked at her time. "Not bad, Lieutenant." That was all he said. But it was enough. The next evolution was worse. A combat scenario. Full kit. Live fire exercises. Moving under fire. Making decisions under pressure. Completing objectives while exhausted and depleted. They split into teams. 5 soldiers per team. Maya was assigned to Team 3. The 9 who'd bet against her were spread across different teams. She could see them watching her, waiting for her to fail. The scenario was a hostage rescue. Navigate through enemy territory, clear buildings, extract the hostage, get out alive. Simple in concept, brutal in execution. Maya's team moved through the course. She was the smallest, the slowest in a straight sprint. But she was smart. She read the terrain, spotted ambush points before they materialized, called out threats before her teammates saw them. At one building, her team leader was about to breach through the front door. Maya grabbed his arm, Wait. Look at the frame. Pressure trigger, IED. The team leader stopped, looked, saw what she'd seen. The slight discoloration. The wire barely visible. Good catch, Lieutenant. Alternate entry. Window on the left. They breached through the window, cleared the building, found the hostage, extracted successfully. Team 3 was the first team to complete the scenario. By noon, 18 soldiers remained. 42 had quit or failed. Maya was still standing. The cadre gave them 30 minutes to eat, to rest, to prepare for the afternoon evolutions. Webb approached her, the one who'd started the betting pool. His face was drawn, exhausted. He'd completed every evolution so far, but barely. He was running on fumes. "You're tougher than you look," he said. Maya didn't respond, just ate her MRE in silence. "I bet you'd quit first," Webb continued. "Thought you were in over your head. I was wrong." "Yes, you were. How are you still standing? You're half the size of most of us." Maya looked at him. "Because size doesn't determine toughness. Will does. And I have more will than you have doubt." Webb nodded slowly, walked away. The afternoon was a series of evolutions designed to break whatever remained of their spirits. Log carries. Boat crews racing with inflatable boats over their heads. Endless calisthenics, burpees until soldiers collapsed, push-ups until arms gave out, flutter kicks until abs seized. Soldiers kept quitting, one by one. They'd stand up in the middle of an exercise, walk to Davis, say the words, "I quit." Davis would nod, point them toward the building where quitters waited for transport back to their units. No judgment, no mockery, just acceptance that not everyone could do this. By 1600 hours, 11 soldiers remained. By 1700 hours, 10. Maya was still there. Her body was shutting down. Her muscles were cramping. Her mind was screaming at her to stop. But she didn't stop. She thought about everyone who'd doubted her, everyone who'd said she didn't belong, everyone who'd assumed she'd fail because of her size or her gender or their own limited imagination. She thought about the 9 who'd bet against her, who'd been so certain she'd quit first. And she kept going. At 1800 hours, they started the night navigation course. Move through unfamiliar terrain in complete darkness, using only a map and compass. Find specific points, mark them, return to base. Anyone who didn't complete it by 0200 hours was done. Maya moved through the darkness. Her feet were destroyed. Every step was agony. Her shoulders were raw from the ruck. Her hands were torn up from the obstacles. But she navigated, found her points, marked them, kept moving. She passed Morrison at one of the checkpoints. He was sitting on a rock, his head in his hands. "You okay?" she asked. He looked up. His face was pale. "I can't do this. I thought I could. I've done hard things before. 3 deployments, Ranger School. But this is different. I'm done." "You're not done. You're tired. There's a difference. I am done. I'm quitting." Maya knelt down. "Listen to me. You've come this far. Don't quit now. Don't let exhaustion make a decision you'll regret tomorrow." Morrison shook his head. "Why do you care? I bet against you. I didn't think you'd make it past lunch." "I know. But I'm still here, and so are you. What you thought this morning doesn't matter. What matters is what you do right now." Morrison looked at her for a long moment. Then he stood up, picked up his ruck. "Okay, let's finish this." They moved together through the darkness, completed the course, returned to base at 0145 hours. When the sun rose the next morning, 9 soldiers stood in formation. 9 out of the original 60. Maya was one of them. Davis walked down the line, stopped in front of each soldier, studied them. These were the ones who'd made it through day 1. The ones who'd refused to quit despite every reason to do so. He stopped in front of Maya. "How do you feel, Lieutenant?" "Like I've been hit by a truck, Master Sergeant." "Good. That means you're alive, and you're still here. That makes you tougher than 51 people who started with you." He moved down the line, stopped in front of Morrison. "Sergeant Morrison, I heard you almost quit last night." Morrison stood at attention. "Yes, Master Sergeant." "What changed your mind?" Morrison glanced at Maya. "The lieutenant convinced me to finish what I started." Davis looked at Maya, then back at Morrison. "Is that right?" "Yes, Master Sergeant." Davis nodded. "The best leaders don't just push themselves, they lift others. Remember that." He addressed the entire formation. 9 of you made it through day 1. That's higher than average. But don't celebrate yet. Day 1 was the easy part. The next 3 weeks will make yesterday look like a warm-up. Most of you will still quit before this is over. But for now, you've earned a meal and 4 hours of sleep. Dismissed. The 9 soldiers broke formation, limped toward the mess hall. Maya walked slowly, every muscle in her body screaming. Webb caught up to her. "Lieutenant, I owe you money." Maya looked at him. "What?" "Sir, the bet. 9 of us bet you'd quit first. We were all wrong. You outlasted 51 people, including most of us would have quit if we had the sense. You earned my respect." He held out a wad of cash. "This is from all 9 of us. We want you to have it." Maya looked at the money, then at Webb. "Keep it. I didn't do this to win your bet. I did it to prove to myself that I could." Webb nodded. "You proved it to all of us, too." The other 8 approached. Foster, Morrison, the rest who'd bet against her. They all looked humbled, exhausted, changed. "We were wrong about you," Foster said. "We judged you before you even started. That was ignorant. You're tougher than any of us." Maya looked at them. These men who'd doubted her, who'd assumed she'd fail, who'd learned the hard way that assumptions mean nothing compared to actual performance. "I'm not tougher than you," she said quietly. "I just refused to let your doubts become my reality. You thought I'd quit because I'm small, because I'm a woman, because I don't fit your image of what tough looks like. But tough isn't a size, it's not a gender. It's a choice. And I chose not to quit. Same as you." Morrison stepped forward. "You saved me last night. I was done. Ready to walk away. You talked me off the ledge. Why?" "Because we're on the same team. Because you deserve to finish what you started. Because proving you wrong about me isn't as important as helping you prove something to yourself." The men were quiet, processing this, processing the fact that the person they'd bet against was the one standing strongest, was the one who'd helped others when she could have let them fail. "Thank you, Lieutenant," Webb said, "for showing us what real leadership looks like." Maya nodded once, then walked away to get food and sleep. Because tomorrow would come early, and tomorrow would be harder than today, and she needed to be ready. Over the next 3 weeks, the 9 became 7, then 5, then 3. Maya was always one of them. It was always standing, always pushing through whatever the cadre threw at them, always refusing to let pain or exhaustion or doubt make her quit. On the final day, 2 soldiers stood in formation, Maya and Morrison. Everyone else had tapped out, had reached their limit and walked away. Davis stood before them. You 2 are the only ones who made it. Out of 60 who started, you're the only ones who refused to quit. That makes you special operations material. Congratulations. He pinned the qualification badge on each of them. Morrison first, then Maya. Lieutenant Chen, Davis said quietly, when I saw you on day 1, I had doubts. I thought you'd struggle. Thought you might not make it. I was wrong. You didn't just make it. You excelled. You were stronger than men twice your size. You helped others when you could have focused only on yourself. You proved that toughness has nothing to do with physical appearance and everything to do with mental fortitude. Thank you, Master Sergeant. No, thank you. For reminding me not to judge books by their covers. For showing the next generation what real strength looks like. Maya stood at attention, exhausted, victorious, changed. Morrison approached her after the ceremony. I wouldn't have made it without you. That night I wanted to quit. You could have let me. Could have had one less person to compete against. But you helped me instead. Why? Because it was never about beating you. It was about beating my own doubts and helping you beat yours. Morrison extended his hand. You're the toughest person I've ever met. It's an honor to serve alongside you. Maya shook his hand. The honor is mutual. She walked away from the formation. Thought about the 9 who'd bet against her. Most of them hadn't made it. Had tapped out at various points during the selection. Their doubts about her had been nothing compared to their own limitations. But she didn't judge them for it. Everyone had limits. Everyone reached a breaking point. The difference was knowing when to push through and when to accept defeat. Maya had chosen to push through every single time. And that choice had made all the difference. Strength isn't about being the biggest or the strongest or the fastest. It's about refusing to quit when quitting is the easiest option. It's about pushing through pain that breaks others. About standing tall when everyone expects you to fall. About proving that the person everyone underestimates might just be the one still standing when the dust settles. Physical size means nothing compared to mental toughness. Gender means nothing compared to will. Assumptions mean nothing compared to results. The soldiers who bet she'd quit first learned that lesson the hard way. They measured her by appearance and lost. Because toughness lives in the mind and the heart, not in muscles or height or conformity to expectations. The real test isn't whether you look the part. It's whether you can do the job when it matters most. And when the job demands everything you have and then asks for more, the people who succeed are the ones who find something extra. Something deeper. Something that refuses to accept defeat regardless of the odds.